The devastation of Arcadia Prime left a scar not only on the colony, but on the hearts of all humans who witnessed it. On Earth, streets that usually buzzed with commerce and culture were now filled with rallies and demonstrations. Citizens held candles and signs, demanding justice, and the collective voice of humanity roared across the globe. Children who had grown up hearing stories of distant worlds now listened as adults spoke of courage, resilience, and the need to protect what they had built. In the command centers of Earth, engineers worked around the clock, drawing up final blueprints for the Dreadnoughts. Massive assembly yards on the Moon, Mars, and orbital stations glimmered with the hum of construction. Each ship represented not just a weapon, but the ingenuity of an entire species, the culmination of decades of research and sacrifice. Every panel, every engine, every shield generator was a testament to humanity's refusal to be intimidated. Kayla Vance spent hours with her officers, studying the Zyrathi attack patterns. Unlike humans, the Zyrathi showed no hesitation, no mercy. Their ships moved in perfect synchronization, their weapons capable of leveling entire cities in seconds. Yet Kayla refused to let fear take root. She reminded her team that humans had faced impossible odds before, on battlefields both literal and metaphorical, and had always found a way to prevail. In the quiet moments between meetings, Kayla reflected on the survivors of Arcadia. She had seen their courage through the communications feed. Families helping each other evacuate, colonists defending the weak even as everything around them burned. That courage, that relentless human spirit, was what would drive the fleet. It was more than weapons or tactics, it was the refusal to bow to cruelty. Meanwhile, the media broadcasted images from Arcadia Prime, carefully curated to show the resilience as well as the horror. Civilians who had built shelters in the mountains, scientists who had preserved critical research data, and soldiers who had fought against overwhelming odds became symbols of humanity's enduring strength. Across the galaxy, even neutral worlds could see that humans were not merely prey, they were a force to be reckoned with. As the assembly of the Dreadnoughts progressed, each ship carried not just humans but a story. Pilots trained tirelessly, learning to maneuver colossal warships through asteroid fields, nebulae, and potential enemy ambushes. Engineers tested energy weapons until every cannon and laser could fire with absolute precision. Commanders studied alien tactics, analyzing patterns and devising strategies that were unpredictable and devastatingly effective. Every detail mattered. Every decision could mean the difference between survival and extinction. Kayla stood on the observation deck of the first dreadnought to complete construction. The ship was a cathedral of human engineering, its hull gleaming in the light of the distant sun, its engines humming with barely contained energy. She could feel the weight of responsibility, the lives of millions riding on the choices she would make. Yet alongside that weight was pride. Pride in a species that could build not just for survival but for justice, a species that would rise to meet any challenge. In the evenings, when the work slowed and the stars shone bright, Kayla would walk among the crews, listening to their stories. She heard tales of sacrifice, of loved ones lost, of personal triumphs and failures. Each story strengthened her resolve. Humanity's greatest weapon was not its technology, but its people, united, determined, and unyielding. Finally, the day came when the first dreadnoughts left Earth's orbit. Thousands of ships formed lines that stretched beyond the horizon, their engines blazing as they entered faster than light travel. Across the fleet, human faces were filled with determination, eyes fixed on the stars and the distant worlds where injustice had been done. Kayla whispered, barely audible over the roar of the engines. "They burned our home, but they will learn that no force in the galaxy can break the human spirit." The fleet vanished into hyperspace, leaving Earth behind but carrying its fury forward. Arcadia Prime had been destroyed, but humanity was rising, not in vengeance alone, but in justice, courage, and the promise that no colony, no world, and no people would ever face such cruelty without a response. The first chapter of humanity's retaliation had begun, and the galaxy would never forget the fire that humans now carried among the stars. Earth had never seen a mobilization like this. Every continent, every orbital station, every shipyard was alive with purpose. The construction of the Dreadnought fleet had been a monumental task, requiring cooperation on a scale humanity had never attempted. Planets that once produced food and luxury goods were transformed into industrial powerhouses. The sound of fusion reactors, the hum of assembly lines, and the light of welding torches filled the sky like a chorus of human ingenuity. Admiral Kayla Vance stood in the Grand Command Hall, overlooking the holographic display of the fleet. 500,000 dreadnoughts sparkled like stars against the blackness of space, each one meticulously catalogued and ready for deployment. Kayla traced her fingers along the display, imagining the path each ship would take to the Zyrathi Empire. She knew the journey would be long, fraught with danger, but she also knew that humanity had no choice but to act. The people of Earth responded with a unity that few had believed possible. Volunteers streamed into recruitment centers, eager to serve as crew members, engineers, medics, and strategists. Scientists worked in tandem with military leaders to develop new tactics, energy shields, and hyperdrive optimizations. Children watched the news feeds with wide eyes, dreaming of the day they could contribute to humanity's cause. The world had become a single organism, driven by the desire to avenge Arcadia Prime and protect all human colonies. Kayla called a meeting with her senior officers, including Lieutenant Commander Rafe Torres, a tactical genius known for unconventional strategies. "We are not just building ships," she said, her voice steady and commanding. "We are building hope, resolve, and the future of humanity. The Zyrathi believe they can intimidate us, that fear will weaken our resolve. They are wrong. Every dreadnought, every crew member, every life in this fleet is a testament to human resilience. We carry justice with us, and it will not fail." The fleet's training exercises were grueling. Crews practiced coordinated maneuvers, simulating attacks against massive alien formations. Pilots raced through asteroid belts at impossible speeds, while engineers tested the limits of energy weapons and shields. Tactical teams simulated infiltration and sabotage missions, learning to strike swiftly and vanish without a trace. Every exercise emphasized not only strength and firepower, but adaptability and creativity. Humans had always thrived by thinking beyond the obvious, by turning the unpredictable into opportunity. News of Earth's mobilization rippled across the galaxy. Rival alien civilizations watched in disbelief as the humans prepared to unleash an armada unlike any ever seen. Many underestimated humanity, believing that their history of relative peace and diplomacy implied weakness. They were wrong. The Zyrathi, arrogant and cruel, assumed they had crushed human resistance with the destruction of Arcadia Prime. They had not anticipated a species capable of harnessing such industrial might, strategic brilliance, and unyielding resolve. Amid the preparation, Kayla visited the families of those who had been lost at Arcadia Prime. She listened to their grief and anger, and she spoke of hope and the power of humanity to rise stronger than before. "Your loved ones will not be forgotten," she promised. "They live on in every dreadnought and every human who fights for justice. We carry them forward, and we will honor them in every action we take." Finally, the day arrived when the first squadrons of dreadnoughts were ready to depart. Thousands of ships formed precise formations in orbit, engines blazing as they prepared to enter hyperspace. Citizens gathered to watch, their eyes filled with pride and tears, knowing that the fleet represented not only vengeance but the unbreakable human spirit. Kayla and Rafe stood on the command deck of the lead dreadnought, gazing at the horizon. "We carry more than weapons," Kayla said softly. "We carry humanity's courage, ingenuity, and honor. They will see that we are not easily broken." Rafe nodded. "Every move we make will remind the Zyrathi that cruelty has consequences. They may have thought Arcadia Prime was the end, but they have only awakened a force they cannot comprehend." As the fleet engaged its hyperdrives and streaked across the void of space, Earth watched in silent anticipation. The journey would be long, the battles fierce, but humanity's resolve burned brighter than any star. Across the galaxy, the message was clear. Humans would not be intimidated, and those who dared to harm them would face a reckoning unlike anything ever seen. In the darkness between stars, the dreadnoughts moved as one, a tidal wave of human determination, carrying with them the promise of justice and the certainty that the Zyrathi had underestimated the most resilient species in the galaxy. The vastness of space tested the dreadnought fleet in ways no simulation could replicate. As the 500,000 ships streaked through hyperspace, the human crews faced a journey measured not only in light years, but in endurance, skill, and unwavering focus. Supply lines stretched across multiple star systems, communications echoed across vast distances, and every day brought new challenges that required ingenuity and coordination. Admiral Kayla Vance moved between the flagship and auxiliary command vessels, reviewing fleet data and morale reports. The first few light years were relatively calm, but the farther they traveled, the more unpredictable the universe became. Rogue asteroids threatened navigation corridors, gravity wells tested engine performance, and unexpected electromagnetic storms scrambled communications. Each obstacle was a test, and humans faced them with creativity and determination. On board the lead Dreadnought, Lieutenant Commander Rafe Torres monitored tactical simulations while coordinating with other squadrons. He spotted a cluster of rogue asteroids drifting near a critical jump point and devised a solution that combined precise thruster maneuvers with remote drone scouts. The fleet flowed through the hazard with minimal risk, earning praise from crews and reinforcing the idea that human adaptability was a weapon as powerful as any energy cannon. Meanwhile, aboard smaller support vessels, engineers worked tirelessly to maintain shields, repair engines, and recalibrate weapons. Humans had always thrived in situations that demanded problem-solving under pressure. They improvised, adapted, and overcame, turning potential disasters into opportunities to demonstrate skill and courage. Even in the quiet moments when engines hummed and stars drifted past, the sense of unity and purpose strengthened every crew member. Kayla reflected on the survivors of Arcadia Prime and the responsibility that weighed upon her shoulders. Each human aboard the fleet carried the memory of those lost, a reminder that their mission was not just strategic, it was deeply personal. The fleet's purpose extended beyond victory. It was a statement to the galaxy that humans would not be cowed by cruelty, that they would rise in defense of justice and life itself. As the fleet approached the edge of Xyratha-controlled space, first contact with enemy patrols occurred. Scouts detected Xyrathi raiding vessels moving in tight formations, testing human vigilance. The humans responded with calm precision. Rafe led a squadron in a flanking maneuver, using decoy ships to draw the patrols away while the main fleet passed undetected. Alien vessels fired, but their attacks were anticipated and countered by agile human maneuvers and energy shields. Even the Xyrathi were forced to acknowledge that humans were not easy prey. Beyond combat, the long journey tested human psychology. Weeks of travel in confined ships challenged patience and endurance. Crew members relied on camaraderie, recreation, and shared stories to maintain morale. Holographic gardens, simulated open spaces, and virtual reality programs allowed humans to experience small comforts of home. Kayla encouraged these measures, understanding that the fleet's strength depended not only on weapons and strategy, but on the mental resilience of its people. Among the young recruits, bonds formed quickly. Pilots who had never met became inseparable partners, engineers collaborated across ship classes, and medics developed rapid response systems to address minor injuries and stress. These relationships became the backbone of the fleet, allowing humans to operate as a cohesive organism rather than isolated vessels. One night, as the fleet drifted through a nebula that shimmered with violet gases, Kayla and Rafe observed the stars from the observation deck. "They may have thought Arcadia Prime broke us," Kayla said quietly. "But every challenge we face, every obstacle we overcome, only proves how strong humanity can be." Rafe nodded. "And when we reach their territory, they will learn that cruelty has consequences. They underestimated our spirit, and that will be their undoing." Suddenly, the fleet detected an unknown anomaly ahead, a dense cloud of gravitational distortions threatening to pull ships off course. Pilots adjusted trajectories, while engineers calculated energy outputs to compensate. Human ingenuity shone as small teams devised a solution using gravitational resonance, guiding the fleet safely through the hazard. The Xyrathi could have destroyed them in that moment, yet humans turned danger into an opportunity to demonstrate skill and unity. By the time the fleet emerged on the far side of the nebula, it had already earned its first victories in strategy, coordination, and endurance. Kayla addressed the fleet through a universal broadcast. "Every obstacle we overcome brings us closer to justice. Every challenge reminds the galaxy that humanity is relentless. We move forward not with fear, but with courage, and nothing will stop us from protecting our people and honoring those we lost." As the Dreadnoughts approached the outer edges of Xyrathi space, anticipation grew. The first battle loomed on the horizon, a test not only of firepower but of the ingenuity, courage, and unbreakable spirit that defined humanity. The long journey had forged them, and soon the galaxy would witness the full might of the human race. The edge of Xyrathi space was a foreboding expanse of darkness and distant stars. Sensors picked up fleets of enemy patrol ships, asteroid belts used as natural fortifications, and the faint hum of distant orbital stations. The humans had traveled light years to arrive here, and now, for the first time, they would demonstrate the full might of their fleet. Admiral Kayla Vance stood on the bridge of the lead Dreadnought, observing the formation of her 500,000 ships. The fleet stretched farther than the eye could see, a tidal wave of metal and energy prepared to strike with precision. Every crew member knew their role, from pilots to engineers, from tactical officers to medics. The humans were not just powerful, they were coordinated, resilient, and relentless. Lieutenant Commander Rafe Torres initiated the preliminary strikes. "We will not engage recklessly," he said. "Our goal is to disrupt their supply lines, test their response, and demonstrate our superiority. Precision is key. Every shot we fire must count." The first Dreadnoughts accelerated toward the Xyrathi outposts along the outermost star systems. They used stealth tactics, projecting energy fields to mask their approach and employing drones to scout ahead. Xyrathi patrols detected movement too late. Human ships emerged from hyperspace behind them, weapons charged and ready. The attack was swift and devastating. Energy cannons fired in coordinated salvos, dismantling enemy ships with surgical precision. Xyrathi vessels, though formidable, were unprepared for humans' ingenuity and speed. Dreadnoughts weaved through asteroid belts, using natural cover to evade counterfire. Each human maneuver was calculated, turning potential hazards into tactical advantages. Kayla watched the battle unfold on the holographic display. "They believe themselves untouchable," she said quietly. "They have underestimated the strength and intelligence of humans. That is their first mistake." Beyond combat, humanity demonstrated restraint. Xyrathi supply depots and military assets were targeted, but civilians were spared wherever possible. News of the precision strikes and disciplined tactics spread quickly across the galaxy, earning whispers of admiration from neutral alien observers. Humans fought not only to win, but to honor the values that had always defined them: courage, intelligence, and morality. Amid the fighting, Rafe led a squadron in a flanking maneuver, penetrating deep into a heavily fortified Xyrathi station. Using a combination of energy pulses and electromagnetic disruption, the humans disabled the station's defenses and forced a surrender of several vessels. Captured Xyrathi personnel were treated according to human standards, and prisoners were given the opportunity to abandon hostilities rather than face destruction. The first strike sent shockwaves through the Xyrathi Empire. Communications between their sectors became chaotic as commanders struggled to understand the human strategy. Panic and confusion replaced confidence, and cracks began to appear in their once rigid hierarchy. Kayla knew that a single decisive blow was not enough. Humanity's strength lay in its consistency, precision, and unwavering determination. During a brief respite between engagements, Kayla addressed the fleet through a universal broadcast. "Today, we have shown that humans will not bow to cruelty or intimidation. Our actions are guided by justice and courage. We move forward together, and every challenge we face only strengthens our resolve." On board the ships, crews celebrated small victories while preparing for the next phase of the campaign. Pilots shared tales of daring maneuvers, engineers discussed innovative solutions to technical challenges, and medics ensured that even minor injuries were treated promptly. Every person contributed to the fleet's overall effectiveness, reinforcing the idea that humanity's greatest strength was not just technology but unity and spirit. The Xyrathi attempted to regroup, sending reinforcements from neighboring sectors. The humans anticipated these movements, setting traps and ambushes that turned every Xyrathi advance into a tactical disadvantage. Each engagement further demonstrated that human creativity, adaptability, and courage could overcome even the most disciplined and powerful foes. As the day ended, Kayla surveyed the fleet once more. The first strike had succeeded beyond expectations. Supply lines were disrupted, enemy morale was shaken, and the galaxy had witnessed the rising force of humanity. She turned to Rafe, who nodded in quiet agreement. "This is only the beginning," Kayla said. "We have shown them that cruelty has consequences. Soon they will learn the full extent of human resolve." The fleet regrouped, engines glowing softly against the blackness of space, ready to push deeper into Xyrathi territory. The first strike was a warning, a demonstration, and a promise. Humanity had arrived, and they would not rest until justice was served. The Xyrathi Empire had underestimated humans. What they believed would be a brief conflict turned into a full-scale confrontation that stretched across multiple star systems. The Dreadnought fleet, now deep within enemy territory, formed a massive formation that could rival entire planetary defenses. From the bridge of her flagship, Admiral Kayla Vance watched the incoming enemy fleets converge, their weapons charging, their formations precise. Yet despite the odds, humans did not falter. Lieutenant Commander Rafe Tor's coordinated maneuvers with meticulous care. "Divide and distract," he instructed. "We cannot engage all at once, but we can control the battlefield." Squadrons split into smaller tactical units, using asteroid belts and gravitational anomalies to hide movements and strike unexpectedly. The humans' ingenuity turned the vastness of space into an advantage rather than a challenge. The first volleys of energy fire lit up the void like a constellation of destruction. Xyrathi dreadnoughts fired in disciplined, synchronized patterns, attempting to crush the human lines with sheer firepower. Dreadnoughts absorbed hits with reinforced shields, retaliating with precision cannons that tore through enemy armor. Every human pilot, engineer, and tactical officer worked in harmony, turning chaos into coordinated offense. On the planet below, orbital bombardments targeted military installations, yet humans carefully avoided civilian areas. Arcadia Prime's tragedy remained fresh in their minds. Humanity fought not just for revenge, but to prove that power need not corrupt morality. Every successful strike against Xyrathi ships and installations boosted morale, reinforcing the belief that intelligence and unity could overcome brute force. Rafe led a daring flanking maneuver through a dense asteroid field. Dreadnoughts darted between massive rocks, emerging behind enemy lines to strike critical supply ships. The Xyrathi fleet scrambled to respond, but humans anticipated their moves, setting traps and decoys that disrupted enemy coordination. The Xyrathi, despite their strength, found themselves outmaneuvered at every turn. Amid the chaos, Kayla focused on strategy, anticipating the enemy's next move. She knew that brute strength alone would not win this battle. Humans relied on creativity, adaptability, and relentless determination. "Hold the line," she instructed over the fleet-wide comm. "Every action matters, every life counts. We fight for humanity, and we will not fail." Several human squadrons executed precision strikes against Xyrathi command vessels, cutting communication lines and creating confusion among enemy ranks. Captured Xyrathi ships surrendered, astonished by the humans' combination of power, strategy, and discipline. Kayla ensured that prisoners were treated with dignity, further highlighting the contrast between human morality and Xyrathi cruelty. The battle raged for hours. Some dreadnoughts sustained damage and crews faced exhaustion, yet humans pressed on with unwavering determination. Engineers repaired breaches mid-flight, pilots adapted to shifting battlefield conditions, and tactical officers coordinated complex maneuvers that seemed impossible to any other species. The human fleet was not just fighting, it was performing a symphony of strategy and resilience. In a critical moment, Rafe identified the Xyrathi flagship attempting a surprise attack on a supply cluster. With precise coordination, a squadron of dreadnoughts intercepted the vessel, using energy pulses to disable engines and weapons without unnecessary destruction. The flagship's surrender marked a turning point. Xyrathi morale wavered as humans demonstrated control, intelligence, and mercy. Kayla transmitted a message to the Xyrathi Emperor. "Your empire underestimated humans. We fight with strength, strategy, and honor. Every life taken by your cruelty will be avenged. Surrender or face continued defeat. The choice is yours." The Emperor's response was silence, a decision that only strengthened human resolve. The dreadnought fleet, united and disciplined, pressed the advantage. Every movement, every strike, every calculation reinforced the lesson that humans were not only resilient but brilliant, capable of defeating even the most disciplined enemy through ingenuity, courage, and unity. As the first day of battle ended, the galaxy bore witness to a truth the Xyrathi could no longer ignore. Humans were a force unlike any other. They were disciplined, adaptable, and fearless. They fought not for domination but for justice, for morality, and for the promise that no act of cruelty would go unchallenged. Kayla and Rafe stood side by side on the bridge, gazing at the scattered remnants of the Xyrathi fleet. "We have shown them what humanity can do," Kayla said quietly. "But this is only the beginning. We must continue to fight with intelligence and honor." Rafe nodded. "They will learn that every attack against us strengthens our resolve. Humanity does not break, humanity does not yield, and humanity will not forgive injustice." The dreadnought fleet regrouped, engines glowing softly against the darkness of space. Ahead lay deeper enemy territory, more battles, and greater challenges. Yet humanity had proven one vital truth. No matter how overwhelming the force, their courage, unity, and ingenuity could overcome any obstacle. The aftermath of the first full-scale engagement left the Xyrathi Empire shaken. Their fleets, though still formidable, were scattered and disorganized. For the first time, cracks appeared in their rigid hierarchy. Humans had demonstrated not only strength but intelligence, precision, and an unwavering moral code that confounded the enemy. It was clear to Kayla Vance that the tide was turning. The fleet moved methodically toward key Zyrathi command worlds. Each operation was meticulously planned. Supply lines were severed, communication networks disrupted, and military installations neutralized. Human strategy combined precision strikes with psychological pressure. Messages were broadcast to enemy forces, highlighting humanity's efficiency and their refusal to harm civilians unnecessarily. The contrast between human morality and Zyrathi brutality became a powerful weapon in its own right. Lieutenant Commander Rafe Torres led a series of daring operations. He directed small squadrons to infiltrate orbital defenses using stealth and ingenuity, often bypassing heavily armed Zyrathi stations entirely. By disabling power relays and communication hubs, these missions caused confusion and fear among the enemy ranks. Zyrathi commanders struggled to coordinate their responses, and even seasoned officers admitted that humans were unpredictable, adaptable, and relentless. Kayla herself focused on the ethical dimensions of the campaign. Each victory carried weight, each choice mattered. Humanity had the power to annihilate, but Kayla insisted on restraint. She met regularly with her officers and medics to ensure that captured personnel were treated humanely and civilians were spared wherever possible. "We are defined not just by our power but by our values," she reminded her team. "How we fight reflects who we are." Despite the successes, the humans faced challenges that tested both skill and character. Zyrathi superweapons were discovered on several planets, capable of devastating entire colonies. Engineers worked tirelessly to neutralize these threats, often improvising with innovative solutions. Pilots executed maneuvers so precise they seemed impossible, threading massive ships through gravitational anomalies to strike critical targets. Every success reinforced the belief that humanity could overcome obstacles with creativity and courage. During one particularly tense operation, a squadron encountered a Zyrathi research facility where experiments on captured humans had been conducted. The discovery was a stark reminder of the stakes. Kayla authorized a precise strike that destroyed the facility while ensuring no further human lives were at risk. The act sent a clear message: humanity fought for justice, and any harm done to innocents would not go unanswered. Meanwhile, communications from liberated sectors began to pour in. Planets and colonies previously under Zyrathi control expressed relief and gratitude. Humans assisted in rebuilding infrastructure, providing medical aid, and establishing governance based on fairness and cooperation. Each liberated world became a symbol of hope, reinforcing the moral authority of the human fleet. As the campaign progressed, the Zyrathi Emperor grew desperate. Reinforcements were scarce, and morale was collapsing. Kayla seized the opportunity, orchestrating a coordinated assault on a major command world. The operation combined fleet maneuvers, precision strikes, and electronic warfare to disable defenses without unnecessary casualties. The humans' effectiveness left the enemy stunned, and the Zyrathi leadership realized that they had underestimated a species capable of extraordinary resilience and strategic brilliance. During a quiet moment on the observation deck, Kayla addressed the fleet. "Every world we liberate, every fleet we overcome demonstrates the strength of humanity," she said. "We fight with intelligence, courage, and honor. The galaxy must understand that cruelty will meet justice and oppression will meet resistance. This is our way, and we will not falter." Rafe stood beside her, scanning incoming reports. "They will try to retaliate," he said. "But each move they make only strengthens our position. Humanity is not easily broken, and every challenge they pose becomes an opportunity for us to demonstrate ingenuity and resolve." By the end of the operation, key Zyrathi command structures had been dismantled, their fleets scattered, and their morale in tatters. Humans had shown that their power extended beyond firepower. It was their unity, adaptability, and moral integrity that made them truly formidable. The tide had indeed turned, and for the first time the Zyrathi faced the reality that the humans they had underestimated were not only survivors but victors in the making. Kayla and Rafe looked at the map of the galaxy, now dotted with liberated worlds and disabled enemy installations. "This is only the beginning," Kayla said. "But soon, the Zyrathi will understand that humanity does not fight for domination, only for justice. And justice is something we will deliver without compromise." The fleet continued forward, engines glowing against the blackness of space, ready to press deeper into enemy territory. The humans' resolve burned brighter than ever, and the galaxy watched as a species united by courage and ingenuity reshaped the balance of power. The Xyrathi superweapon loomed on the horizon like a dark monolith. Its energy fields pulsed ominously, threatening to obliterate entire star systems if humanity faltered. Admiral Kayla Vance studied it from the bridge of her flagship, the glow of countless dreadnought engines reflecting in her eyes. This was the culmination of their campaign, the decisive challenge that would determine the fate of the galaxy. Lieutenant Commander Rafe Torres traced tactical simulations across the holographic display. "We cannot rely on brute force alone," he said. "Their defenses are too strong, and the superweapon's destructive power is unparalleled. We must coordinate, strike with precision, and use the element of surprise." Kayla nodded. "Then we will do what humans do best, adapt, innovate, and act together. Every ship, every crew member, every strategy matters. This is our moment." The fleet split into multiple task forces. Decoy squadrons simulated attacks from one direction, drawing the attention of the Xyrathi forces, while the main strike team, including Kayla's flagship, slipped through a hidden hyperspace route. Engineers had devised a method to temporarily disrupt the superweapon's energy shields using focused electromagnetic pulses. The plan was risky. Failure could mean total annihilation of the strike force. As they approached the target, human pilots executed daring maneuvers through asteroid fields and nebula clouds, weaving between debris and enemy fire with precision that no other species could match. Each movement was choreographed yet flexible, allowing humans to exploit every opening the Xyrathi left. On board the flagship, Kayla monitored the pulse generators and relayed orders to engineering teams across the fleet. Every dreadnought contributed its energy to the disruption fields, and the massive beams of power stretched across the void, aiming at the heart of the superweapon's shields. The enemy fired relentlessly, but human coordination and ingenuity allowed the fleet to absorb and redirect attacks, minimizing losses while maintaining pressure. Rafe led a squadron through a gap in the defenses, targeting the superweapon's reactor cores. Pilots threaded their massive vessels through narrow corridors of debris, their engines glowing like comets against the darkness of space. Precision cannons fired in unison, striking critical nodes while drones disabled support systems. Every strike demonstrated the combination of courage, skill, and adaptability that defined humanity. The superweapon shuddered under the coordinated assault, but it was still functional. Kayla realized that the decisive moment had come. She ordered a synchronized hyperspace jump, moving her flagship directly above the reactor chamber. Using a combination of energy discharge and gravitational manipulation, the dreadnought delivered a critical strike, destabilizing the core. The superweapon's pulse began to collapse, its energy fields flickering as the Xyrathi scrambled to react. Despite the danger, Kayla maintained composure. "Focus on control, not chaos," she instructed. "We are not destroyers, we are defenders. Every action must preserve life where possible." The Xyrathi fleet attempted a desperate counterattack, but human ingenuity outmatched them. Engineers redirected power to shields, pilots executed flawless evasive maneuvers, and tactical officers predicted enemy movements with uncanny precision. In the chaos, several Xyrathi commanders surrendered, unable to comprehend the humans' combination of power and restraint. Finally, the superweapon collapsed in a controlled implosion, its energy dispersing harmlessly into space. The galaxy trembled at the display of raw power, but the human fleet emerged largely intact. Victory was achieved not only through strength, but through intelligence, planning, and adherence to values that no other species had matched. Kayla transmitted a final message to the remaining Xyrathi leadership. "Your superweapon is gone, your fleets are scattered, and your empire stands in disarray. Surrender now, and we will ensure the safety of your people. Continue to resist, and the consequences will be yours alone. Humanity fights for justice, not vengeance, but we will defend what is right with every resource at our disposal." Rafe turned to Kayla, eyes bright with determination. "We've shown them who humanity truly is. They cannot ignore our resolve, our ingenuity, or our values. This victory belongs to every crew, every ship, and every human who has fought for what is just." Kayla nodded. "And it is only the beginning. We have the power to protect, to rebuild, and to ensure that no species can threaten the innocent without consequence. Humanity has risen not to dominate but to uphold justice in the galaxy." The fleet regrouped, engines still glowing from the exertion, as liberated colonies and freed worlds began to send messages of gratitude. Across the galaxy, observers recorded the triumph of humans, a species that had combined courage, intelligence, and moral integrity to overcome overwhelming odds. The final gambit had succeeded, and the Zyrathi Empire would never forget the lesson. Cruelty may take many forms, but ingenuity, unity, and honor can overcome even the darkest threat. The galaxy was quiet now, but not empty. Star systems once oppressed by the Zyrathi Empire were awakening to freedom, their citizens gazing at the stars with hope for the first time in generations. Humanity's fleet, still resplendent with engines glowing softly in the darkness of space, moved carefully among the liberated worlds. Each dreadnought carried not only advanced weaponry, but also medical supplies, engineers, and diplomats. Humanity had come to liberate, not dominate. Admiral Kayla Vance stood on the bridge of her flagship, surveying the newly freed colonies. Holographic displays showed recovered planets and orbital stations, each now under human protection. The survivors of Arcadia Prime had become symbols of resilience, inspiring efforts to rebuild and strengthen communities across human-controlled space. Kayla felt a profound sense of accomplishment, tempered by the memory of lives lost in the struggle. Lieutenant Commander Rafe tours coordinated reconstruction teams across multiple systems. The logistics were immense, repairing infrastructure, restoring communication networks, and ensuring that essential resources reached those in need. Yet humanity had always thrived on challenge, and the determination of crews and colonists alike was unwavering. Every repaired power grid, every cleared debris field, every restored school or medical facility reinforced the promise that humans fought not just with weapons, but with heart, intellect, and compassion. In the liberated sectors, former Zyrathi prisoners were offered the chance to reintegrate peacefully. Many accepted, recognizing the fairness and moral integrity of the humans who had defeated their empire. These interactions were delicate but significant. They demonstrated that victory could be tempered with justice, and that strength and mercy could coexist. Kayla and her officers oversaw these efforts personally, setting an example that humanity's power was measured not only in force, but in character. The surviving Zyrathi leadership was brought to negotiate. Kayla met with them in a neutral orbiting station, her presence commanding but calm. "Your empire underestimated humanity," she said. "You assumed that fear and cruelty would break us, but they only strengthened our resolve. Today, we offer a choice: cooperate and rebuild, or continue to resist and face the consequences. The galaxy is not yours to terrorize. Justice will prevail." The Zyrathi, humbled by the defeat of their superweapon and the scattering of their fleets, agreed to the terms. Their surrender marked a turning point in galactic history. Humanity had proven that a species driven by morality, intelligence, and unity could challenge even the most powerful adversaries and emerge victorious. Across human space, celebrations were subdued but heartfelt. Colonists sang, children laughed, and communities rebuilt together. The story of Arcadia Prime, once a tragedy, became a symbol of hope and resilience. Monuments were erected not to glorify war, but to honor courage, unity, and the determination to stand against cruelty. Kayla and Rafe convened one final fleet assembly. "We have achieved something extraordinary," Kayla said. "We have defended our people, liberated the oppressed, and upheld the values that define us. But the work is not over. Humanity must continue to protect, to build, and to inspire the galaxy. We have the strength and the responsibility to ensure that freedom endures." Rafe nodded. "We have shown that humans are not easily broken. We are more than survivors. We are innovators, defenders, and a force for justice. And as long as we remain united, there is no challenge we cannot face." The fleet began its return journey to Earth, passing by newly liberated colonies that waved in gratitude. Kayla watched the stars, reflecting on the journey from tragedy to triumph. Humanity had faced annihilation, but they had emerged stronger, wiser, and more united than ever. The galaxy had witnessed their courage, intelligence, and moral strength, and humanity's legacy was now written among the stars. On Earth, citizens awaited news of the campaign's conclusion. When the fleet returned, it was not merely as conquerors, but as protectors, diplomats, and symbols of hope. Humanity had proven that true strength lay not only in power, but in values, creativity, and the unyielding spirit to defend what is right. The final scene showed Kayla standing on a balcony overlooking Earth, the sky lit with the glow of returning ships. Children played below, unaware of the battles fought for their future. She smiled quietly. Humanity had endured, and now the galaxy would know Cruelty would not go unchallenged, injustice would meet courage, and the human spirit would shine brighter than any star. Across the universe, a new era had begun. A human era defined by ingenuity, honor, and the unwavering belief that even in the darkest moments, hope could prevail. Humanity had risen, and the galaxy would never forget the day 500,000 dreadnoughts carried justice among the stars.